Behold, my glorious supporter Palabragris has asked why I one-taked a 3-hour tier list video, and am I okay? I am okay. I one-taked a 3-hour tier list video to revive my channel really quickly, and also because I wanted to show the weapons in their sort of what I consider their kind of objective state in this meta, for both of those reasons, so that I can, one, then make framework and show how they're very different in context in a loadout than they are like objectively, and two, because when the meta changes, we're going to see how having viral be the only good thing is really bad for the game, and when it changes, it's going to be fun to make that tier list again and see how much better it is, or at least to look back at it, you know. Those are the answers, but I'm going to elaborate at some length, because it's such a simple question. I do have more to say. I'm not going to talk too much more about my June was pretty bad overall, personal reasons, nothing to do with my content. Not much more to say. It was bad. It's less bad now. You all have been wonderful. May I say? And we'll talk more about the why I made the tier list, why I made it the way I did, etc. Lots of topics about that. People have asked quite a bit. This is not the only time I've been asked some version of this question. So let's cover it. And also, since I'm kind of just elaborating on a very simple answer to a thing, I figured we would multitask with this video a little bit. And I'm going to show you this camera. This is the difference between using my webcam and my phone. So webcam, phone. We just swapped to the phone. This is what I use when I stream. I use this when I stream so that I can do this and just take it off and go visit the cats. Good boy. Good boy. Because that's dope, but it also kind of looks better. My phone's dynamic lighting on its camera is far superior to my webcam, which is surprising because this is a dedicated streaming webcam that was no small sum of money. I could tweak the settings further. That's not a thing that I'm going to do. We're just going to use this. Better utility. The audio from it is not really online yet, so I can't talk except by yelling toward my mic when we're around, so it's not really a wireless webcam, it's tethered, but anyway, whatever, we're showing contrast with this. This is what we're doing, accept it, moving on. Tier list video. Let's break down what happened here. So why a tier list video at all? Why when I did it? Why in one take in like only three? I just did it all at once. Why in the janky formatting? Why a lot of things. Let's just go through all of them, and if you still have a question about this tier list at the end of this video, in the comments, I promise I will answer that question, unless it's like months after I recorded this. Because for goodness sakes, I like talking about this kind of stuff. I want you to understand. I think it's interesting because I'm a massive nerd. Let's go through. So why a tier list? Tier lists are haymaker videos. The channel had been inactive because, I'd been planning to make framework at the beginning of this year, my whole series of loadouts for every frame, but right when I was about to start, they were like, hey, we're going to change everything about status, and also self-damage is gone, and also we're changing a bunch of other things, and it was all horrible. Not all of it was horrible, but a lot of it was horrible, and it upchucked the game's balance and a lot of my plans for framework, so we had to go back to the drawing board a little bit, which was very, very defeating. It felt very bad. Has been one of the tough things about this year so far, amidst many other tough things. He said wistfully. So that happened, and now we're sort of catching up. But in that sort of waylaid period in the first half of the year or so, my YouTube channel, my main YouTube channel, kind of languished a little. It got inactive. YouTube does post your videos, share your videos around based on how well previous videos did and how recently you uploaded, which can create a bit of a vicious cycle if you don't upload too frequently. And the best way to break it is like you just gotta do something people really want. Eventually people will watch it. There's such a thing as word of mouth. You don't only have to get promoted by YouTube. you can have people share your videos. That's why it matters so much that when you share my content, it's not so much that the number of people willing to share my content is so huge and like that's such a large source of views. What it is insurance that if YouTube does something to my video, it still has a chance to prove itself as something people like. If YouTube stops recommending it but you don't, and YouTube sees that it's doing well, then that can override YouTube for whatever reason not recommending it. The way to do this is to make a video that everybody wants to talk about, and everybody wants to talk about a tier list. So that's why a tier list. Also, because of the viral thing I mentioned before, the meta right now on paper is really bad. But if you look at the balance of the weapons, it's surprisingly sort of okay. It's not amazing at all, but it's surprisingly not the worst. The balance of weapons overall relative to each other is, in my estimation, pretty good at the moment. Not incredible, but not bad. Not as bad as you would think, considering, you know. Gas made it a lot worse, but it's still not that bad. Why in one take? I had no time. Deadlock Protocol was delayed a lot. I didn't know when it was going to come out. I felt like enough is enough. It got delayed a bunch of times. We didn't know when it was going to come out, and I figured, we got to go. I need a video ready. I need it so when Deadlock Protocol comes out, there's a lot of views to be had. I got to be ready for that. And you'll notice on my YouTube channel that after the tier list, I posted a video just showing all the weapons in Deadlock Protocol, and those videos kind of did the thing with each other where the tier list didn't do very well at first. It's a 3-hour video. It is a little bit of hard sell at first. YouTube really likes long content, but my channel had been so inactive, and for the first like week or two, it didn't get very many views. It got like 5,000 views, and then I put out that weapons video, and that for the first 4 or 5 days also got pretty mediocre view counts. But just recently, maybe a day or two ago, it took off, and suddenly the tier list took off as well. And the reason is that YouTube found out that people wanted to watch my content, surprise, and found, to its delight, that there was recent content of mine that it hadn't been showing people to recommend. There is in there a bit of a slingshot effect where, because YouTube wasn't showing people my tier list for various reasons, when my channel does pick up again, YouTube has a video that people want to watch that it hasn't recommended to people, giving it lots of material with which to grow my channel back up. And those videos doubled in view count a full 5 or 6 days after they came out, which is very unusual. They did not get meaningful amounts of views early on, and then the view count got much larger quite a while after they came out because that process happened. I hope that makes sense. That was the goal. It worked. I've done this a couple of times before. You need a haymaker video and then just some staple content, and usually it does the trick. It's not so hard to revive the channel. If you make content people like, it works out. And again, so the reason it was one take is because I can, and because I legitimately did not have enough time for anything else. My schedule has been nutso for this month. That has been partially something that's been upsetting me for various reasons, personal stuff, but it was because I didn't have enough time. Now, I did get a lot of help. I got help from Jab from my Discord, who made the tier list, and I got help from a few other viewers who sent me timestamps to help me timestamp it quicker. I was able to cross-reference those timestamps. Cross-reference those timestamps. Wow, easy for me to say. Try it, seriously, it was a nightmare. So that I didn't have to check every single one, because there's like a million timestamps in that video. I averaged, I think, like 1 minute a weapon, which is, or like something close to that, which is, I think that's pretty good. Like, I covered every weapon, you know, okay, not some melee weapons that there's nothing to say about, but basically every weapon in the game. 1 minute per weapon that's not that bad. I'm just saying. I think that's pretty good. And that would have been an insane amount of timestamps because I did the video in one take. And if I have finally spent all this time not explaining what that means, I sat down, I hit record, I recorded the entire video all at once without stopping. I ended the recording, I did not edit it, and I put it up. The video has zero editing. It was done in one take. the video is 3 hours, and it took that exact amount of time to make and no longer. That is very challenging. I did make a few mistakes, of course, but overall, I'm quite happy with the fact that I was able to do that. This channel has helped me practice doing things in one take or all in a take at the very least. And then I was able to find a format to show the weapons that I was talking about that was okay. This is the part where we get to the fact that, again, I know that it's not a great format. It's not a pretty video. Especially, I really wish that I could have just put like an opaque red dot on the or like a transparent red dot on the, just like on the screen, and like moved it around with my cursor manually during the recording. And I really wish I'd done that. That's what I did to zoom in on different parts of the tier list, and I wish I had done that for this one. If I do this again, that's probably what I'm gonna do. The reason it is in the janky format is because it was either that or no video. And I figured it's not great, but at the end of the day, are you really watching videos like that for the video content? Unless, you demonstrate every single one, which is insanity. I think the answer is no, so I didn't. That's why. Maybe someday in the future, I will be good enough at doing videos in one take that it occurs to me that if I'd been in the simulacrum and I had all of those weapons, I could maybe have demonstrated every single weapon while one taking the entire video with everything I had to say, and I would just have to demonstrate it quickly and then be swapping weapons while I was finishing the explanation, and then it might have been possible, it would have been way harder, don't let me understate that, to do the entire thing in one take and add demonstrations without it theoretically taking more time. But I really don't want to understate. I didn't do that because I don't think I can do that, not because I am lazy or something. Please believe that if I woke up one morning and said I'm going to make a tier list in one day, it's not because I'm lazy. And the last thing I want to say is thank you, because although it was 24 hours of production time, what helped a ton is that the day before I streamed and we went through the whole thing on my stream. That took 5 hours, I want to note, so I did cut it down. But that helped tremendously. That helped me form my thoughts about it. I got some really good feedback from people about a few things that I don't, for example, a lot of people think the Kuva Dragoon is way better than I think it is. I'm quite unconvinced. It is not a good weapon. It is basically a bow, but I think that's a good point. Jab, the person who helped me make the tier list format on TierMaker, pointed out it's not an F tier weapon. It's not so bad. They said, surely it's no worse than a bow, though. Well, I think it's a bit of a trade-off with a bow. It's bow-like, but because it's pellets, you can't get all your damage to get a headshot, even if you aim for a headshot. On the other hand, it's easier to get a partial headshot than with an arrow. Potato, more status output, that's good. Ability to fire at close range without charging it up, the damage is not good, but you can do that. I think it's still quite bad compared to the other options. In a tier list of choice, it is not a good choice. It is a worse than average choice, I think. But it's not as bad as I said it was at first, and that helped a lot. There were quite a variety of things like that. There are a few other things since that, not very many, a few that I've thought on and thought, I understand why people don't agree. But that's the whole point of a tier list, is just to give people opinions. Nothing makes me more frustrated than when people think that it's a reason to accost someone for their behavior when I say, like, here's my opinion on this video game weapon, since you asked. And people are like, how could you even have that opinion? It makes no sense even though you explained. And here is my opinion, which I won't explain. Feel bad. Like, I don't. No. You feel bad. Like, give me a break. I explained my reasoning. Like, come back when you have some. But at the same time, people have overall been really positive in my tier list videos, especially famously that drift frame tier list that's like the most popular video I've ever made by a huge amount. That video is surprisingly wholesome. Like, there's some bad stuff. It's got almost 1 million views. Of course there is. But it's a pretty reasonable, like, the community was pretty all right about that. So anyway, so thank you. I'm sure all of you being the people that watch this Parley channel, are some of the core audience that made that happen and kept that positive. So thank you. I really appreciate that. I think that's pretty much all I have to say about that tier list. I guess one last thing I'll mention is that I don't feel I'm in a position at the moment to hire an editor, but if I was, this is the kind of thing where we could get a lot more production value and it would probably earn us more money without it taking individually any one person like more time. There's theoretically money to be made there if I partnered with someone who could edit it and then we did the thing. Joey and I have considered doing that in the past. At the moment, I don't think I gain enough by doing that yet, and I want to work with people that are not free at the moment. But those two things, I hope you can hear in my voice, those two things could easily change, probably will. I don't really like focusing on editing in my videos, as you can tell, but that doesn't mean that in the future I wouldn't acknowledge its usefulness. I mean, I do acknowledge its usefulness. And I love, like, Joey's videos are edited a ton, and he's an artist with editing, and it's beautiful, and I love it. That's just not something that represents me, that's all. But at the same time, there are types of content I make where even though the editing is very simple, it's still just, like, numerically a lot of work. Like, it takes a lot of hours of unskilled work, and it doesn't mean it wouldn't benefit from some more skilled work or just other unskilled work other than mine. So we'll see. Anyway, that was my bit of words about that tier list video. I hope that this was a thorough answer, as I find great joy in giving. And shall we contrast these two webcams? All right, so we have this one. I feel like, yeah, it can wig out a little when I move around, but then we'll move to this one. And you can see it's a bit more washed out, but it's smoother. Anyway, good stuff. See you next time.